Hello comrades, today I have a watch. I've been chasing after one of these for quite a while. They always seem to go for too much money, but this one came up on eBay and it's Vostok from Soviet times, from CCP, probably around, I don't know, late 1970s, early 1980s I think. This cost me about £10 on eBay, and it's got the submarine picture on the top. Don't ask me what the Russian says. And it wasn't billed as working or not working. I took a chance on it and it's basically not working. If you give it a bit of a shake, it will tick for a little while. It basically needs a service. As you can see, it's is it ticking? I give it a little, sometimes give it a little bit of a go and it will tick for a little while. But I think it's been sat around for a long time. It was in a bit of a grotty state. I've given it a good clean up and a polish up. And it's not something I'm going to wear, to be quite honest with you. Even if it was working, I probably wouldn't bother wearing it. I just wanted to have this in my collection because I've been after one of these proper old Russian watches because I just find them a little bit fascinating with this old Soviet star, and you've got the submarine on there. Some of them I think have pictures of a tank. Got the kind of bright yellowy green on the hands, on the loom. Let's see if we can get this going a little bit better. Because it was working for a while when I first got it, but now it really doesn't want to do anything. You have to just trust me that it did. Oh, there we go. It's going. Right. There. So it ticks for a few seconds and it stops. So what we've got here, it has actually got a rotating bezel, and it's a special Russian rotating bezel that wouldn't give away your position because it's silent. There's no clicks to that whatsoever. Just smoothly rotates. So if you're in your Russian nuclear submarine under the water, you mustn't make any noise. So if you're adjusting your bezel, you can't have clicks because that would give away your position to an American submarine. I'm making it. I've got absolutely no clue. It just doesn't click. There's no clicky clacky thing inside there. So it's completely silent. But that doesn't matter because it doesn't work anyway. But these are pretty sturdy watches on the whole, and I'm sure I could get that serviced and get that working perfectly. However, even if it's working, it's probably worth £50 maximum, I would say, because they're not that rare. They made quite a lot of these watches. There's quite a few around, and they are collectible. People will pay a pretty penny for them, and I was very lucky to get that for £10. And there are some even counterfeit ones, believe it or not, of these Vostoks. And Vostok still make watches. I don't know if it's the same company exactly, but they do still make watches. But this is one of the proper original Soviet era watches. And it's got some Russian writing on the this back, what do you call that, case back? I can never remember the name, case back. I want to call it back plate, but it's a case back. So you can see the Russian writing on there with a serial number, and on the bracelet itself, I think that says Vostok in Russian. You can make out the O and the K, and the rest of it is Russian language alphabet. I think that says Vostok. And there's a few more markings there. And it's a real kind of bright, cool looking watch. I've got another Russian watch, which is a Pobeda, which I'll just quickly show you now. Okay, I just ran upstairs and got out my Russian, I think it's called Pobeda. That's why I'm a bit out of breath. I forgot I was going to add this into the video, then I completely forgot to bring it downstairs. This one is actually working. And that was the first Russian watch I got. And I got this really because I was looking for a Vostok. And they were always too expensive. That one came up. And I can't remember. I think I paid like about £10 for this one. This one actually works. It keeps good time. It's a bit battered up. I've cleaned it up as good as I can. And I put it on this NATO style strap. And that's quite wearable. Quite an interesting, plain kind of design. Nothing spectacular about it, but that's how they were making watches back in Russia, back in the day. You know, nothing was too flash really. They were just kind of old-fashioned looking, even when they were brand new. So that probably is maybe early 1980s, something like that. But looking at it, you would think it was 1950s or 60s, but it's not quite as early as that. It's just they were a little bit behind with the times with their styling. So that's that one. But this was the type of one I was actually after. And, you know, I'm not that worried that it doesn't work because, say, to get it serviced, it's going to be at least £50, even with one of those chaps on eBay where you can send off the watch, and as long as it doesn't need any new parts, they will do a basic service for about £50. They probably do a machine clean of the parts rather than by hand, but that would have got it working. They would have re-oiled the jewel and that type of thing. I'll show you inside the back plate now. If I get that off, which I think I've already kind of half loosened, to show you the mechanism, the movement. So I can't use my inflatable watch case ball with this because it's got, as well as having the case back center, that kind of pops off and it's held in by this retaining ring which screws in. So that unscrews and that is kind of loose, which it will make sense. I noticed the early secondas I had exactly the same back. I wonder if it's the same factory they're made in because it's so similar. So these things you've got to wind it to the exact right size to fit into your indentations on the case back. So then you can wind. I always go the wrong way. It's got the right way. I prefer the ball because it's quicker and you're less likely to scratch the watch, where these often slip out of the little tabs. Right, it's always a bit awkward with one hand. Okay. Right, because I've got that quite loose, I'll just use a point. Sorry, the light is bad. I've got a light on to unscrew that a bit more. Now this watch will have some kind of water resistance. The crown is actually a screw down crown. And what I read is it's very common that the crown stem itself is very loose. And it's not loose, that's the way it is on these. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, but I read about this before, that when you unscrew the crown, the actual crown stem, I don't know if it's hinged or what, but it's kind of flops around. But no, you can alter the time, do everything you need to do. But with the date, the only way I can find to actually change the date is to go all the way around the clock, and then the day will change. I couldn't find a quick set change for that. It may be one, but I can't. Yeah, it doesn't. It will wind, it will turn the hands, but it won't do the date. So let's get this case back off. I will show you the movement. Right, I think we're free now. So you can see this is two pieces. You have like the retaining ring, and then you have that bit with a notch there that fits into the notch there, so you get it exactly in the right place when you put it back. And there we have the movement. And there's no stamp or numbers or anything I can find on that movement. It's not a bad looking, oh, sorry, I can't get this strap out of the way. I probably should have took the strap off or the bracelet off. Right, let me get this in one hand. Okay, so there you go. It's not a bad looking quality movement. Obviously not very high quality, but it's not terrible. If I give it a little turn, we might see the balance wheel. It really doesn't want to play pool. It's pretty cold in here. I've just got back. The house is cold. There we are. Off we go. Yeah, so it will tick for a second and then it wants to stop. Yeah. So it's not far off. I think if someone knew what they were doing and could actually service it themselves, that would be ideal. But for me to service this, I don't think I can do it. I haven't got the right tools. I could probably get where you have the jewel in the middle on the balance wheel here. It has a little jewel retaining clip. So, it's so hard to do this. Hang on. To try to show you. Right. So if I zoom into this now. Okay. So with tweezers, I could remove that little gold retaining clip and then the jewel would be able to come out, and then you could probably clean the jewel itself and reapply a drop of watch oil underneath that, and that would probably get it working again. That's obviously not a proper service, but that would have re-lubricated the jewel, and I think that's what's really slowing it down. But you've got the other jewels there as well. A proper strip down service would clean all the parts up and re-lubricate where needed. So I think I'm going to leave that well alone. I haven't really got the correct tools for that to do that. But that is the movement. Not, not too bad really for an old Russian movement. So I'll pop this back together and I'll show you it on my wrist. So that's a back plate with a notch in its little hole. Just zoom back. And then I need to use the tool again really to screw this back up. So I'm going to press on the centre. Hang on, I'm not quite. Right, so that notch has got to be right home. Press on the centre and then get the outer wheel. I'm going to just start it off onto the thread. And then close it up. Which is tricky, very tricky. Very easy to jump out of these. I don't like these, but they, especially as it gets older, it's very easy to jump out. Okay, so I got the back plate case back on properly. Off camera, I just kind of unwound it again. It hadn't quite caught the thread properly, and I've got it threaded properly now. It's a little bit of a fiddly job to get that back on, have to be honest. So I'll put that on my wrist. Now the bracelet is a little bit large for me. I haven't sized it down, but you will get the idea. Just screw the crown up. Take off my Pagani, what am I wearing today? This one again, my Batgirl Pagani GMT. Faithful daily watch. When I'm not wearing a vintage watch, I'll I will daily that one usually. So the bracelet's quite interesting. The internal links have that kind of lines, I don't know what you call that, like a brick look, which is quite interesting on the links. I love the colours of this. I don't know what the loom is they use, but it's really quite bright. The hands are quite bright, and those little loom pips, which are bigger at the bottom and go smaller at the top. And the dial itself, where it's old, you can see some crazing. Looks like a kind of desert, you know, where it's obviously got hot or too much sun. Because I don't think it's meant to be like that. It's kind of crazed with age. You can see the kind of crazing. Yeah, I'll say unfortunately, it's not a goer, or not for more than a few seconds anyway. But I was after one for quite a long time, so this is just one I'm going to keep in the collection along with this one, which does work, which I think I've only ever worn once. It's not the prettiest of watches, but it is an old Soviet Union. If you look at the bottom of this watch, you will see CCCP, or I think as Russians called it, SSFP. Anyway guys, I hope you liked this video. Please like and subscribe, and so you don't miss any more vintage watch content I'm going to be bringing out. Have a look at my back catalogue. There's loads of different vintage watches on there that I've usually bought cheap off eBay. Some quite interesting watches which are not a lot of money. So, you know, if you're collecting vintage watches, you don't have to spend a fortune. As I said, this was only £10, so they are out there. Thanks guys, take care.